Hello and good evening and welcome to this week's or this video. I guess is not even this week. We do them more often than once a week. So welcome to this particular video on drugs and alcohol and the recreational use of such. I'm Coach Andy and this is Coach Joe with me, and we're here to talk about drugs and alcohol this evening. So why don't you introduce yourself, Joe?
All right, I am Coach Joe. I am a transformational life coach. I work in the field of self acceptance and many other fields, but that's the one that I focus on to help struggling men and/or women. I'm not opposed to helping women, but the focus on this particular channel is toward men.
Yes, yeah. I am also a life coach, a transformational life coach, and I do focus on men for my marketing and for my coaching. I have yet to have a woman ask me for help. However, I'm open to helping those. Mostly, the subjects that I talk about are the subjects that men are interested in seeking help for, and again, that is the focus of our channel. So in this case, in this discussion, we're going to talk about we created a series. We're in the middle of a series about drugs and alcohol. And the next discussion we're going to talk about is the recreational use of drugs and alcohol. So let me start off by asking you a question. How would you define recreational use as opposed to destructive use or addictive use of drugs and alcohol?
Well, I mean, I think the most relevant thing right now would be marijuana getting legalized, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's cannabis shops everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And like anything, that can be abused too. But I know a lot of people who use that just have a good time, for the night, and it's not a everyday thing. Um, I know somebody who will get stoned every now and then, or get high every now and then. And that would be considered a gateway drug, which a lot of people do consider that still, I think. But it's just something that you do every now and then for fun. Like you go over to your friend's house and maybe it's there and you're just like, oh yeah, sure, give me a hit, whatever. And you go
Yeah.
about your business, but it's not something where you have to have it every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would add to that. I would add to that that it's very much something that you do on occasion as you feel like it, and there are times when you don't feel like it or you feel like not having it.
Right.
Oftentimes, recreational is the definition of I I still have the choice of when to use it, and how you know you have the choice of when to do it is when the opportunity arises and you choose not to.
Yeah.
Right? If you're choosing not to more often than you're choosing to do it, whether that's daily or weekly or monthly doesn't matter. How often you do it doesn't matter as much as how often you say no versus how often you say yes. If you find yourself saying yes far more than saying no, then there might be something more than recreational use there.
Right.
Um,
If you can't say no, then there's definitely more than.
right. And if you have the inability to say no, then there's definitely that's when we start getting into addiction and things like that, right? Or dependency, or maybe you're trying to cover something up. Um, so that's the case. I know lots of guys who don't necessarily drink or smoke pot every day, but they are very, very consistent about doing it every weekend.
Mhm.
And I would still call that a problem. That's not recreational use at that point if you don't choose to say no more often than you choose to say yes. If it does become a consistent every weekend thing, then a lot of people in that case might call themselves a functional alcoholic or a functional drug addict. I
Right.
still function throughout the week when I go to my day job, but on the weekend, I'm pretty much drunk and or stoned all weekend, right? And
Yeah.
a lot of the guys that I know that do that still call themselves an addict of some flavor. So, um, that's where I would differentiate between recreational use. If you are able to say no, and you know you're able to say no, if you do say no about well more than you say yes. If it's a 50-50 split and it's 51% saying no, that still counts, right?
Right.
So that's where we're at here with this. Um, so yeah, I agree with what you said, and just wanted to add to it a little bit.
Yeah.
Any other ideas on what recreational drug or alcohol use would look like? How would a person know if they're using it recreationally or if they're using it for some other reason.
I think if they are in control of it and it's not in control of them, then
Hmm.
at that point, it's a recreational thing. Like if I go to Great America and I know, okay, I'm going to get stoned today,
Hmm.
then that's recreational. But if I'm
Right.
doing every day or every 2 days or every 3 days, then there might be something a little more than recreational
Right.
involvement. So that's like,
And how do I know? How do I know I have control? So I know a lot of guys who say I'm not an alcoholic or I'm not a drug addict because I have control of it. I can say well no whatever I want to, but they don't. So how do I know when I have control?
I think that would be based off of what other people might be telling you. If other people are showing concern
Hmm.
and it's coming up more than what it should be.
And how
Um,
much should they show concern? What is the definition of should?
right. And that can be different per person.
Right.
So, and, per family and whatnot, or
Yeah, and
parents.
see, that's where I want to give what I want to do with this video is I'd like to create some kind of a definition where a person who's using drugs or alcohol, some kind of a system where they can decide, is this recreational or have I crossed the line? Because a lot of people who have crossed the line don't know they crossed the line because they still think they're in control. Sure, I'm in control of my alcohol. I'm not drinking too much. I just choose to drink all the time. That's not necessarily in control. How does a person know if they're in control? And how does, like you said, if we listen to our family and it's kind of different per family, how can a person self identify as an
Yeah.
addict or as somebody who's using it more than recreationally?
Yeah. I think at that point, if the person were willing, that they should keep a journal of it,
Hmm.
right? Write down how many times they're doing it per day or per week. How much
And
money
or
are they?
how much money they're spending on it, how much they're using at a time.
Right.
If they're smoking one joint every day, that's one thing. But if they're smoking, if they find that they have to smoke one joint this day, and then 3 weeks later they got to smoke, two joints and every day, and then a month later they got to smoke three joints every day. If it's gradually increasing and the effect is reducing, then there's a problem.
Right.
And when you journal, also write down why you decided to have a drink.
Yeah.
Because if it's for recreational use, you'd be like, buddies came over, I decided to have a drink. Or my girlfriend and I just sit down and decided to have a joint. It's something we do together most evenings, and that's okay. If you write down why I'm having a drink, and you write down, I'm feeling kind of stressed today, so I figured I'd have a drink. And if that's what you write down many of the days, then maybe there's something else you'll want help with.
Yeah. And I think it's important too to look at if it's occurring more than once a day, how many hours in the day is that taken away?
Hmm.
Right. There's 24 hours in a day, and out of that day, I'm stoned or I'm high or I'm flying for 16 to 18 hours.
Hmm.
It could be a really bad problem.
Right. And that's, yeah, that is a definition of a problem. If people are doing it for a number of hours in a day, yes. If they're doing it at work or school, that's a problem. Those are good indications. How would a person who doesn't do it at work or school, who maybe only gets stoned or drunk, you know, at 10 o'clock in the evening, but he does it every night, or he does it every Friday and Saturday night religiously?
Well, there's a lot of variables there. Like,
Right.
if you've got glaucoma or they've got, a bad back pain or whatever, and it's legit and it's been prescribed by a doctor, then there's that form of it. So I don't want to ignore that issue, right? When
Right.
people have a medical problem. On the
Right.
other, if it is just a habitual thing, right, then we have to look at again, what is it causing that could be negative? Are we using this time
Yeah.
productively? Are we using this time in a way that is serving us or in a way that is defeating us? You
Right.
know,
Right.
that's what we have to look at and maybe write down the good and the bad and the ugly and see where that lands.
Right, right. So that takes a guy who's willing to be pretty self-aware to write all those things down, to
Hmm.
really measure.
Right.
And I know a lot of the guys that I've talked to aren't that self-aware. They're not
Hmm.
willing to do that kind of work. They think they have control of the problem. And really, when they come to me for the first time, they're like, I don't really think I have a problem with drinking, but my wife thinks I have a problem with drinking. So I'd like you to help me figure out if I got a problem.
Mhm.
What can a guy do on his own before he comes to us and decide
Figure
if he's
out,
going to?
I think you would have to figure out what the problem is that he is drinking for.
Right.
Well, why am I going for that drink? Why am I going for that cigarette? Why am I going for that
Whatever it is.
whatever, right? Why am I going for that syringe in the arm? Whatever it is, what is the reason? That's what's pushing you toward that, because that's where the problem is, and that's what we need to deal with, and that's what we need to fix.
Right. And whether
So,
that's a problem or whether that's an effect, for some people go for these things not because they're trying to cover a problem, but because they want an effect. For
right.
example, some people go for to take a drink because they feel braver on the dance floor.
Hmm.
You know,
Absolutely.
some people take a drink because they feel like a better pool player, or they feel like a better they can talk to people more openly.
Yep.
I know a couple of the guys come to me because after they've had a few drinks because they feel like they can open up their emotions. So those are all good things or things that they think are good things.
Right.
So
Well, I think it's
they're using drugs or alcohol to get a good thing.
yeah. So I think I spoke on this in one of the previous videos. I played in a rock band for about 10 years,
Hmm.
and I've always had stage fright, but I've always just got up and done it. But
Yes.
once I got into playing into bars and stages and things like that, and people were closer, I was very uncomfortable. So I'd get anxiety, I'd get stage fright, I'd get whatever. And I go, okay, I'm just going to go grab some shots and
Right.
let whatever happens happen. So what's the cause? The cause is the anxiety, right?
Hmm.
What's the go-to? The go-to is the alcohol, right? And
Right.
what is the effect? The effect is, well, now I'm not worried about it because I'm in an altered state of mind.
Right.
So same kind of thing, but the problem or the issue, whatever you want to call it, is still everything that happened from A to Z,
Right.
right?
And
So
that's
A
kind
is
of what I was getting at there. Yeah, that's exactly what I was getting at there. If the result you want is to not feel anxiety, or the result you want is to feel um, like I can dance or like I can open up my emotions or whatever the result is you're looking for, if the result you want, you think booze or drugs is going to give you that result, then there might be a problem. If there's a
Mhm.
result you want that you think alcohol or drugs can give you, then there might be another way to get that solution. You just don't know what it is.
Right.
And that's where talking with somebody like us can come in and we can help you find another way.
Mhm.
How do you know when it's recreational? When you don't need it in order to do a thing, when you don't need booze or drugs to get a result. If you're turning to either alcohol or to some kind of a drug to get a result, then you're not recreationally using it anymore.
Right.
If you're using it because I feel like getting drunk, if getting drunk is the feeling I want and there isn't a reason to feel drunk just because I like it, or maybe I'm having a drink or taking a drug because I like the taste. That's another reason people do those things. They like the taste.
Mhm.
That's more common with booze, but it also happens with drugs as well. Um, so either the taste or the experience of having done it is a pleasant thing, and that's the result we're looking for.
Mhm.
If the result you're looking for is that, then it could be recreational.
Right.
But if you're looking for that result to cover something else or to let you do something else, then it's probably not recreational anymore. Now it's a tool, and there are probably better tools than either drugs or alcohol to use.
Right. Well, they're definitely better tools.
Well, and that's exactly it. So, like you have mentioned before, sometimes I go over to my buddy's place and we just have a smoke, like we just have a toke, and that's okay. If the thing we're looking for is to feel that little bit of a buzz that we feel, that's great. But if the thing we're looking for is because I can't really relate to my buddy unless I'm stoned, well, then maybe there's a different way to relate to your buddy.
Right. Right. And so that's kind of what we. Well, I mean, that is what we help you with,
Right.
right?
That's where we come in as coaches,
Right.
is we help you figure that out. So one way to know is if you're doing it a like a regular amount of times, whether it's daily or every 2 or 3 days or weekly or monthly. Like if there's a scheduled time you're doing it, that's probably more than just recreational. If you're not able to say no, or you have problems saying no, you're able to say no some of the time, but it's hard, that's more than recreational. If if you're doing it to achieve something and not just the feeling of being stoned or the taste of having a drink, if you're doing it to achieve something other than those things, then it might be more than recreational.
And if it's affecting you physically,
If
that's
it's
another.
if it's affecting you physically, it might be more than recreational.
Right.
And I'm supportive of the recreational use of legal drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
Right
And,
now, pot is legal, and in some parts of the world, other drugs are legal as well.
right. And so that, and we say this every video. We're not here to judge anybody on anything that they do.
That's correct.
We're here to people. So it doesn't matter if you come to us and you're a heroin user. We're not going to use that against you.
We're not. We're not going to call the police. We're not
No.
going to get you arrested. We're here to help and not to judge. One of the things that I like about coaches is that we don't have the legal expectations that some of the professional helpers have.
Right.
Because coaching is not a regulated industry, we don't have to, we're not legally bound to do what some other medical professions are legally bound to do. We're there to help. We will give you the kind of help we think is best, and usually we'll judge that based on what you think is best as the client. We'll try and as much as we can, we'll try and give you what you want. That is our goal, to help you achieve what you want. And the only limit I put on that is I won't help a person kill themselves.
Right.
Right?
Well,
That's a
I think,
legal thing.
yeah, and I think it's important to state too that we are bound by the common sense laws.
Right.
Right.
Right. We are
So
bound by those, but we're not bound by professional laws that some of the other
right.
professionals are bound by.
Right. Exactly.
Like
So
I
just
have sat with a guy while he attempted to kill himself, and I'm not legally required to call an ambulance at that point.
right. Right.
That's what I was talking about. I
But if
am
that guy say I'm
morally
going to kill,
expected.
oh, right. But if that guy went and said, "Oh, I'm going to go kill this guy," then we're bound to report something like that.
Right. Right.
So just so everyone's clear on that.
Well, and that's exactly it. I mean, I want to make sure that the client knows, that my clients know, that I'm going to do whatever I have to do. That's
Yeah.
within legally with what I'm legally allowed to do.
Right.
Whatever I have to do that's not illegal.
Correct. Awesome. All
So
right. Back to the drugs discussion, recreational use.
what
Uh,
is how do I know? Well, that's what I wanted to. Well, that's my goal for this video is how does a guy know he is within the bounds? Because a lot of people, a lot of guys specifically, don't think they have a problem with either drugs or alcohol, when almost everybody in their life does think they have a problem. So if a guy's in that position, what can I tell him or you tell him to help him figure that out?
I think I don't think that's going to happen in one session or in one sentence. I think that would be something where we would have to coach this individual for him to realize it on his own. I think that's going to be a way to, get him to
Okay.
realize. Because if you got 20, 30 people telling you this is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem, and you're like, F you, I'm fine,
Hmm.
right? You don't realize that you have a problem. One or two things are going to happen, right? You might OD, you might get in an accident, get hurt in some way, shape, or form, or you're going to go and get some help. Those are
Yeah.
really the only two ways to go: get hurt or get help,
Right.
or both. But
Or, and the other option too is, how does a person know if I'm right or if my family's right? If 20 or
well,
30 people say I got a problem, maybe those 20 or 30 people simply don't know me, and they think it's much worse than it is.
sure. And it's also how clued in are those people, what's going on in your life,
Right.
right?
That's kind of the point I was getting at there.
So if someone is suffering with like really high anxiety or really high depression or whatever it is, where they're just trying to maybe stop from punching a wall or going off on somebody, and they're going and doing this thing to calm themselves down,
Hmm.
telling them that what they're doing is wrong is just going to hurt them even more.
Hmm. Well, and that's
And
that's kind of what I'm getting at exactly. So what I want to do in this particular video, and actually I want to make this kind of a known goal for most of the videos going forward. I'd like to have a solution before that we can give them from the video that's not simply call us, because we can help.
Right, right.
And what
Well,
happens if a guy's not at a place where he wants to call and talk to somebody yet? He just wants to watch a video and get an answer.
well, I mean, if I were talking to that individual, I think every individual is going to be different. So I
Hmm.
don't think there's one right answer for everybody. But if somebody said, "Hey, Joe, I'm concerned. You're doing this. I think it's a problem, but don't take my word for it. How's it affecting your kids? How's it
Hmm.
affecting your wife?
Hmm.
What are they saying? What kind of example are you showing them?
Right.
Are they showing concern, and are you serving them? If you can take the pressure off of the individual person and get them outside of their head and kind of open their eyes to seeing
The
what's
wider
going on.
world.
Right,
Well, and to add to that, what I might say is how is it helping you get the results you intend to get? Right.
right. And
If your results is to make your wife and children happier or to provide for them better, and if smoking a joint helps you do that, then great, right?
right,
But if smoking a joint or taking a drink takes time away from your family or takes energy or focus away from your family, and that's the thing you want to do is give your family more energy and more focus, then if that's taken away from that, then it's not serving you. It's not doing what you want.
right, right. And
Right.
that's the whole thing where you ask somebody, where do you see yourself in 20, 30 years?
Hmm.
And is this path that you're currently on going to get you where you want to be?
Right.
And
Right.
that's the other thing to look at it, you know.
Yeah.
And if somebody told me that back in, my 20s or 30s, I probably would have thought about it, a little differently, but
Right.
no one did.
And see, and that's kind of where I'm coming from, because people ask me that all the time. Where
Mhm.
do you see yourself in 10 or 20 or 30 years? And I said dead. I said that every time. I
Mhm.
never intended it to make it to my 30s. I never intended to make it to my 40s or to my 50s. So
Right.
for me, it was more about, am I getting the life I want right now?
Hmm.
Right? Is it helping me get with the life I want right now? So the 20 or 30 years, is this where you want to be in 20 or 30 years? I think that's a great answer, because like you just said before, there is no one right answer. I think that is a great answer, and it's not a great answer for some other guys. For me, it wouldn't have been. For you, it would have been. Right? Here's two different men right here who would have had two different solutions. And I
And
and
it,
and I
yeah.
think I completely agree with your point that there isn't a right way. For me, the thing that I would have wanted to see is, yes, this can help you get over whatever the problem is you're feeling right now. Yeah, it can help you, be brave, or it can help you feel the way you want to feel, or get to what you want right now. Are you going to feel the same way tomorrow morning? Are you going to feel the same way next week? Are you going to be this? Are you going to feel the same way when the consequences have come by and the results are still the same?
Right.
Right? Is it
And
going to get you what you want long term?
exactly. And the other thing that an individual can do, and this is something I started doing, which actually started the kind of the roadway for me to get out of my depression, out of my anxiety, and out
Hmm.
of my negative self-talk and all that comes with it, right?
Yeah.
I started saying out loud every day things that I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
Sing in the morning, what am I grateful for? Doesn't matter if it's the wind blowing, my car, my kids, no matter how small, no matter how big, start telling yourself out loud or speaking out loud what you're grateful for. It makes a huge difference.
It does
It's
make a huge difference.
so simple.
Yeah, it does make a huge difference. Again, it doesn't work for everybody, but it
No,
does work for many, many people.
right.
So I guess that's one of the things that I wanted to get from this video is, let's give a number of suggestions, so that
Yeah.
whatever there's going to be something in this video that'll go, wait a minute, that's for me,
Hmm. So I
and
can
try
give you
it.
a list. Yeah. I mean, I can give you a list right now of the things that I do,
Yeah,
right?
and I'll do the same.
Yeah.
So
So,
go
I
ahead.
mean, prayer, meditation, exercise, playing with my kids, actually cleaning my house makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Getting out and doing landscaping in my yard, doing these YouTube videos,
Yep.
right? Talking with my other coaches and the people that I have met along the way.
Yeah.
Okay, so playing my guitar, which is over here to my left.
Yeah. Yeah.
All these kinds of things. I mean, there's really very simple things.
Yeah.
Simple phone call to my parents.
Yeah.
So those are just a few of the things that I do, and there's many, many more
Hmm.
um, that I do. But those are just some of the things.
Right. Right. And for me, my kids are grown and gone. My wife left a bunch of years ago, so for me, it's much more personal. I don't get enjoyment out of cleaning my house. I don't get enjoyment out of doing yard work, but I do get enjoyment out of sitting and watching video games or playing video games. I'll watch YouTube videos of other guys playing video games I'm interested in. I'll play video games I'm interested in, and I'll watch Netflix just to be entertained. Sometimes I'll go on out in my living room and do a line dance, or I'll do some push-ups or something. Again, just to make myself feel good. I'll go for a walk. I'll be outside. I'll go for a bike ride. I'll go hang out with a buddy. I'll go talk to somebody. I'll phone somebody.
Yeah,
Those are all things we can do to feel better. Like they were probably on your list too. You just didn't mention those ones, right? And those are all kinds of things that I do. And whether you're single, whether you're with a family, whether you like the person you're living with or the people you're living with, or whether you want to leave them, whether you're happy with your life situation or you're not happy with your life situation, there are many things you can do and many things you can be grateful for.
mhm,
There are many things you can do with your time, and there are many things you can be grateful for, and there are many things that you can do to teach yourself all the good things you have, all
right.
the good things you are. And that's one of the key things for me to know that when I'm not trying to use drugs or alcohol to feel good enough or to numb the feelings of negative, to numb the rejection or the loneliness, if I'm not doing that to numb all of those negative feelings, if I'm not using drugs or alcohol to cause me to feel something I want to feel or to stop me from feeling something I don't want to feel, or if I'm using drugs and alcohol just to get a buzz on. Sometimes I like just to feel a buzz on, and I'll smoke a joint for that, or I'll take a drink for that. Depending on what the mood I'm in at the time, and that's what recreational use looks like to me. Is I'm not trying to cause a feeling.
Right.
I am grateful for the things that I have in my life. I feel good about the direction my life is going. I'm happy with the life that I have, and I want to feel a buzz sometimes.
Mhm.
That's a good way to make sure that what you're doing is recreational. If you don't have to or feel like you need to, then it's recreational,
Right.
right? And
Exactly.
I think that's where I wanted to go with this video. And you explained very much the same thing in another sense of words. Um, I like that we both have different versions of guy words to say these things, because I've heard all kinds of ladies say same kinds of concepts, and as a coach, I understand what they're saying, but as a man, it sounds like girl talk.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing too, though, right? If we were sitting here saying the exact same thing, how many different people we're going to reach?
Right,
You know,
exactly.
the exact same way. It makes no sense. And we
Right,
could do it. There'd be no reason for it to be here, or vice
right,
versa.
right.
So we have to be diverse. We have to be able to reach a certain audience. I'm here, you're there, and
Yeah,
maybe and then work together. But
right. And as well, it also helps us when we talk back and forth, because even if we disagree on something, it gives the guys who are watching a chance to see how you can disagree with another dude without punching him in the face.
yeah,
Because sometimes that's not necessary. Sometimes it is necessary, but sometimes it's not necessary.
no, I don't know if it's on my end or yours, but when you're talking, I'm getting like kind of a bubbling sound on my end.
Oh, that might be my headphones. I might have to exchange those.
Okay.
Has it been the whole conversation?
No, just in the last minute or so.
Oh, okay. Um, then let me know if it continues. We'll keep going anyway, and if we have to redo this video at some point, then we will. But otherwise, we'll just keep going, and hopefully we can either edit it out or it'll sort itself out. I'm not sure. We'll figure that out later.
Then, we're good. So
I had somebody say that on a phone call earlier today with this particular headset, so I might have to replace them. We'll see where that goes.
it happens.
It does. Technology is a wonderful thing, is it not?
Oh,
So is there more that we want to say on this subject? Do we feel like we've said enough? Is there anything else you want to talk about with recreational drug or alcohol use? Is there something you would think that's what we should bring up?
I think the only thing is just be mindful, be careful, and if you feel like it's becoming a problem, check yourself.
Right. Yeah, and that's exactly it. I'm hoping that the guys who watch the videos on this channel are here to learn something, and that's kind of what I want to help them do. Is I want to give them a way to learn those kinds of things, right? On some of the other videos in this series, we're going to talk about addiction or self-medicating or escaping with the use of drugs and alcohol. On this one, it was more about defining what is recreational use. How do I know when I am simply using it recreationally? Or how do I know when I've crossed those boundaries, right? We'll talk more about those boundaries in some of the other videos that we make in this series, and hopefully we'll get more clarification on what you need to do or what you can do, what your options are. In the meantime, you can call us, you can email us at, what's our email address? You don't know? Okay, I created it, so I only told you the once, so it's not surprising if you don't remember. It's menscoachingcorner@gmail.com.
Took me a minute. I was asking a question. Wait, what?
We only just created this channel like a few days ago, and we're trying to madly create videos so that we can create enough content for you guys, because we really do want to help. So forgive us if we're a little new on the verbiage and and technicalities of creating this channel. We're still figuring this out ourselves. So welcome to the journey, and hopefully we can help you with what we're doing.
Yep. That's
so
perfect.
I guess that's enough on this subject, unless you got some more to add.
No, I think we're good.
Okay, well then let us sign off and post this video and see who it can help.
I like it.
Thanks a lot for watching, and if you want more of these, obviously subscribe to our channel if you don't already, and press the like button so that YouTube recognizes that somebody likes what we're doing.
Share this with your friends and family if you'd like.
Well, yeah, you can. I mean, sharing it about isn't a bad thing. I mean, if you think it's good. I mean, if you think we're just a bunch of idiots, then please don't share that.
Or do.
Great, I love this stuff. Let's do more of it.
Let's keep it going.
Yeah. All right, everybody. We'll talk to you guys later. Have fun.
All right. See ya.